everyone, so this is your Ma'am Camco once again, and for information only that this video is intended for my class instructions for criminology subject, but everybody are welcome and feel free to watch my video, and I hope that you will learn something from it. So for today's discussion, we are going to discuss the custodial investigation and detention. Since we already discussed the warrantless arrest and detention last video, for a short review only class, when we say arrest, it is the taking of the person and brought into the custody of law in order that he may bound to answer the commission for the offense. However, class, we can still arrest a person even without the benefit of the warrant of arrest, and that is the warrantless arrest or the citizen arrest. Why we call warrantless arrest is also a citizen arrest? Because anyone can make the arrest. In warrantless arrest, class, we can arrest the person by virtue of the warrantless arrest provided that the three circumstances are present, or any of the three circumstances is present, which is the in flagrante delicto, the hot pursuit, and the escape. So when we say in flagrante delicto, we have three requisites. That is, about to commit the crime, actually committed the crime, or just committing the crime. So when we say hot pursuit, class, if you found out that there is probable cause for his arrest. And lastly, the escape. When we say escape, that the person escaped from the penal confinement. So, moreover, legal proceeding will be done if the person was arrested without the benefit of the warrant of arrest. Why? This is to be conducted to ensure that the arrest made is legal and accordance with the law. Warrant of arrest can execute any time of the day. It means that you can execute or you can arrest the person even at night, because we have 24 hours in a day. So, bear on your mind that if you execute the warrant of arrest or if you arrest the person at night, that will be legal. So, gusto ko lang i-clarify to kasi maraming nagtatalo dito kung legal ba daw yung pag-execute ng warrant of arrest even at night or kahit madaling araw. Yes, legal na legal po, because yung execution po ng warrant of arrest is can be made at any time of the day, and the execution of the warrant of arrest is there is no limit of time. So much for that. We will proceed to the next lesson for your midterm coverage. This will be the last lecture for your midterm. So we will move to custodial investigation and detention. So class, this will be your new topic for your midterm. So lesson objectives in custodial investigation and detention. We will enumerate the rights of the person under custodial investigation and discuss the effects if these rights are violated. So, any person to be arrested and brought before the custody of law is presumed innocent until proven guilty. So, any person to be arrested and brought before the custody of law is always to be presumed that innocent until proven guilty. Thus, a person has the same right as any ordinary individual in order to protect the interests of ordinary individual, as well as prevent any abuses from law enforcers. These rights must be observed, as any violations may result to the dismissal of the case. This right provided by the state was originally founded in the case of Ernesto Miranda versus Arizona, such the court dropped his conviction for kidnapping and rape for failure of police officers conducting the investigation to inform and recite his legal rights prior to confession during custodial investigation. So remember class, the title of our topic is the custodial investigation and detention. So we will move on. In Philippines, the right of the person originally defined under the Bill of Rights of the 1987 Philippine Constitution Section 12, Article 3, such that any person lawfully arrested and under investigation for the commission of crime shall have the following rights. Number 1, right to remain silent. Number 2, right to have independent and competitive counsel, preferably for his or preferably of his own choice. And 3, right to know the cause of accusation against the person accused. So that will be your rights under the Philippine or 1987 Philippine Constitution. In addition to above rights class, the state enacted the statutory law which provides further the process of obtaining a confession to any person detained or under custodial such that the person detained or under custodial investigation shall be assisted by counsel at all times. The recital of his rights shall be in dialect known and understood by the person detained or under custodial investigation, and the custodial investigation report shall be reduced into writing by the investigating officer and explained to him by his counsel before it will be signed at the same. In like manner, and any extrajudicial confession made by the person arrested or detained shall be in writing and signed in the presence of his counsel. Take note, extrajudicial confession is a confession made by arrested or detained person while the custody or while under the custody of law and is done outside the court. Moreover, custodial investigation is the issuance of an invitation to the person suspected to have committed a crime who at the same time is brought before the custody of law in order to answer matters regarding the commission of a crime without jeopardy to the liability of the person for any violations he may commit. On the other hand, custodial investigation report is the document prepared by the investigating officer during the investigation process containing all necessary information about the confession of the person brought before the custody of law. So, arbitrary detention class. When we say arbitrary detention or arbitrary detention is entitled to in Book 2 or the Act 3815, the Act 3815 which is the Revised Penal Code of the Philippines. Arbitrary detention is a crime against the fundamental law of the state committed by any public officer or employee in any of the following manner. Number 1, detention of any person without legal grounds, that is Article 124 of the Revised Penal Code. Number 2, delay in the delivery of detained person to the proper judicial authority or delaying release. That is Article 126 of the Revised Penal Code of the Philippines. So when we say arbitrary detention is a crime that against the fundamental law of the state and committed by any public officer or employee. In relation to arrest, any person arrested without the benefit of warrant, or which is the warrantless arrest, or in other words, the citizen arrest, shall be released subject to the gravity of the offense he is suspected to have committed, such that 12 hours if the person committed a light felony only, 18 hours if the person committed a less grave felony, and 36 hours if the person committed a grave felony. So any public officer who will not observe or fail to observe the following number of hours shall be charged for arbitrary detention under Article 125 of the Revised Penal Code. If you are the law enforcer and you are not able to observe the following numbers of hours, you will be charged for arbitrary detention. So arbitrary detention, class, remember that this is a crime against the fundamental law of the state, which is committed or can commit only for any public officer or employee. Arbitrary detention is committed only by any public officer or employee only. So let's move to investigative interview. Lessons, objectives for investigative interview. We will going to discuss the characteristics of a productive interview and explain the rules in the conduct of interview. So in order to obtain a productive investigation, class, investigators must be knowledgeable and skilled in gathering information. Take note that information is any data gathered in the course of investigation which will serve as a foundation in solving the case. So I repeat, information is any data gathered in the course of investigation which will serve as a foundation in solving the case. So one way of gathering information is done through successful interview of a witness, complainants or victims, and interrogation of suspects or any person accused of a crime. Normally, however, investigator starts conducting field inquiry towards any individual upon his arrival at the crime scene. So this is done in order to give investigator an idea as to the extent of the crime committed. Take note, class, that interview differs from interrogation. I repeat, interview differs from interrogation. Is questioning style which involves the use of strong appeal or aura in order to gather information among persons who have direct knowledge or involvement of the crime. Also, interview is commonly done among witnesses, complainants, and victims of the crime, while interrogation usually done among persons suspected to have committed a crime or those hostile witnesses. Take note, class, that there are those witnesses who are uncooperative and do not wish to provide information necessary for the prosecution of the case. Additionally, investigators must do the interview the soonest time possible, as this will allow them to gather better information concerning the crime. The lesser the time between the commission of the crime and the conduct of interview, I repeat, the lesser the time between the commission of the crime and the conduct of interview, the more accurate and fruitful for successful investigation. So we have characteristics of productive interviewer. The capacity to gather information relies heavily on the skills and competency of the investigators. Take note that the skills of the investigators or the investigator refer to his technique employed, manner of approach, and timely decision in doing the interview, while competency refers to the knowledge earned through experience and training. Moreover, investigators must also possess the following characteristics in order to become successful interviewer, such that self-reliance, adaptability, perseverance, optimistic, and patience. So, self-reliance class. When we say self-reliance, this means that the investigators must be confident in doing the interview while at the same time conscious in listening to the interviewee. Interviewee is the person placed under interview. So, when we say adaptability, this means that investigators must be flexible in different situations and be able to interview at the interviewee's convenience. And we have perseverance. This means that investigators must endure all obstacles that may come before the process of interviewing the interviewee. So we have optimistic. This means that investigators must have positively in dealing all possible interviewees that may be called before him. And we have patience. This means that investigators must exert all positive or possible effort to maintain a good attitude in handling the interview as well as the ability work under pressure. Then we have rules in interview. Gathering information relevant to the case does not only include the skills and competency of the investigator, but as well as the proper and timely preparation in doing interviews. Keep in mind that interviewers should be versatile or flexible in handling different types of personality, as this will allow him to gather relevant facts in the line with the commission of the crime. Some of these important things that investigators must remember are as follows. I will mention. Number 1, we have the case review. We have the build report. We have simple question. We have avoid implied answer. We have avoid leading question. Do not rumble. We have number 7, the good closure. So, we will tackle first the case review in the rules in interview. So, we have case review. Investigators must review the relevant facts about the case before proceeding with the interview of the interviewee. This will allow him to capture all the necessary detail while doing the interview, as prevent loss of vital information to which the interview possesses. We have build report. This means that the investigator needs to communicate properly and bring the interviewee to attention to establish a good communication in order to proceed with cognitive interview. Take note that the report refers to the good relationship established between interviewer and interviewee as a result of their mutual understanding in solving the case. As an effect, investigators can do the cognitive interview, wherein interviewee can provide all the relevant facts of the case under investigation through narration of his accounts. And upon the aid of of effective interviewing techniques. So we have simple questions. This means that investigators should not allow the interviewee to be confused. Confusing questions make it difficult for the interviewee to understand and provide accurate answers. Avoid implied answer. This means that investigators must not allow a question answerable by either yes or no. If that is the case, this will limit the perspective of interview and investigators must omit some important facts of the case. So please avoid implied answer. Avoid leading questions. As much as possible, class, avoid leading questions as this will redirect interviewee's mind and will focus only to matters which investigator asks. However, this may be useful in interviewing child witness. The avoid leading question. Then we have do not ramble. This simply means that investigators should only ask one question at a time. So I repeat that do not ramble means that the investigator should only ask one question at a time and good closure. So this means that investigator should be courteous and kind to the interviewee as a further set of interview is possible. Do not allow interview to put grudge against you. So, we have interrogation. Lesson objective class for interrogation. We are going to discuss the relevance of interrogation and differentiate interrogation from interview. So, successfully investigation of the case cannot be done without the suspect being interrogated. Since interrogation of suspect is the usual and classic scenario done to obtain strong information, however, investigators should be skilled enough as it's expected that the suspect will not speak anything will implicate them to the crime they have committed. Then we will proceed to preliminary preparation. Investigator should identify himself, of course, before the conduct of interrogation and must allow the subject to know the purpose of the same. The term subject refers to the person who is placed for interrogation. So that person who is placed for interrogation in criminology term, we call them a subject. As discussed in the previous chapter class, the subject here must be apprised of his constitutional rights, as any confession made without such appraisal will be inadmissible as evidence in court. Now, interrogation, we have interrogation techniques. Interrogation techniques refers to the method employed by the interrogator in questioning and eliciting relevant facts necessary for the conviction of the suspect. So again, interrogation technique refers to the method employed by the interrogator in questioning and eliciting relevant facts necessary for the conviction of the suspect. In addition, investigators must employ appropriate and suitable interrogation style depending on the type of suspect. Some of these techniques are strong approach, friendly approach. So, when we say strong approach class, interrogator projects a hostile personality toward the subject to create anxiety and fear in order to confess. Then we have friendly approach. Interrogator manifests a sign of friendliness and offer help toward the subject. confession and admission. We are going to differentiate the confession from admission and explain the effect of confession in criminal investigation. The main objective of interrogation class is to obtain information from the subject. The main objective of interrogation is to obtain information from the subject. Confession is defined as the direct acknowledgement of the suspect with the respect to his participation concerning the commission of a crime, as opposed to admission, which is defined as the acknowledgement only of some elements of the crime and is not tantamount to confession. So, bear in your mind, class, that confession and admission has different meaning. In order for a confession to become valid, class, the following requirements must confer, such that we have the person making the confession must be apprised of his constitutional rights as provided by the Miranda Doctrine, such that he has the right to remain silent and anything he will say can be used against him, and be provided with an independent and competent counsel. Then we have, if the person making confession waive his right, it must be done upon a valid waiver with the assistance of counsel. Waiver refers to a document signed by the person making the confession, renouncing all his rights as provided by the Constitution. And there was no third-degree use. Third-degree simply means as the use of physical force, intimidation, threat, or any other similar means done to obtain confession. However, Miranda Doctrine warning need not be applied in cases where the confession was done voluntarily or made spontaneously, such that the person was running to the police station and suddenly spoke out that he killed a person. That is considered as a voluntary surrender. The person who subjected to for fingerprinting or be taken handwriting sample or doing a lineup for sobriety test. Sobriety means the state of not being drunk or the quality of being serious. Field questioning or in the crime scene, roadside questioning or any traffic stops, in any other minor violations. So, class, that will be the end of our lecture for your midterm. And I hope you learned something from my lectures. And please prepare for your midterm exam. For my class only. So, please prepare for your midterm exam. That will be this week. And please be guided accordingly. So, as per instruction, for your attendance, comment your section down below. So that's all for today, class, and see you next video. God bless!